So once again, Kotaku just takes all of the fun and excitement people are having about things and the joy of a Final Fantasy VII remake, and they just smash it with their foot. And they say, none for you, no fun for you. Because if there's anything Kotaku hates, it's fun and excitement. I mean, we've seen all of the articles recently where they were talking about how Kotaku's not looking good. Kotaku might go out of business. Don't forget that Kotaku is attached to Vice, I believe. And that's not good since, what is it, the Waypoint, right? Waypoint, where they talk about games that's attached to Vice. That went out of business. So I don't see Kotaku being around much longer. I'm really excited for them to go away because they're trash.
Pathetic earthlings. Who can save you now?
Flash! Savior of the universe! Strange object imaged in the Imperial Vortex.
All right, so a few days ago, the Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer dropped. And man, I was excited. I thought it looked great. Unfortunately, it's still going to be episodic. That sucks. I'm not looking forward to that. I wish they would just release one big game. But nevertheless, we are getting it. I can't wait to play it. Final Fantasy VII for me, man, that was the reason I got a PlayStation. Because I was a big, long-term Nintendo fan. I think like a lot of people, because Nintendo was the top dog. And then PlayStation came out. And they had all of these sweet games, And I was really excited. I saw pictures. I played Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy V, 4. They skipped 5 in America, I believe. And 4 was really 3. It's confusing the way they did that. We had 2 and 3, which were 4 and 6. I think I'm getting that right. And I played 6. I went back and played 4 after playing 6. That was really where I got my taste of RPGs. There was Super Mario RPG and other games. Super Nintendo had a lot of good role-playing games. Chrono Trigger, blah, blah, blah. And when I found out, those games were going to PlayStation, it piqued my interest because it's like, well, I definitely want to play more Final Fantasy. And I was confused. What's Final Fantasy VII? Where are all of these other games that I missed? I think a lot of people had that. But, video game magazines, because we didn't really have, the internet was around, but nowhere near as effective it is today. So I know it's crazy, but magazines were where a lot of people got their information, and they caught people up and explained what was going on and all of that stuff. But nevertheless, Final Fantasy VII was a key player in taking Nintendo down and really propelling the PlayStation to the top of the market, where they've kind of sat mostly, other than a little bit of problems with the 360. PlayStation has been king. I think that's going to change if they keep their soyish ways going. But what's going on here? Well, Gita Jackson, writer for Kotaku, what a great position that is to have in life. I'm a writer for Kotaku. Is mad because, well, Barret is a stereotype. So one thing that I want to point out is that this person has never played Final Fantasy VII. She says it right here. I've never played Final Fantasy VII, and because of that, I'm interested in the remake. Now, that's a key point that I want you to remember when I get done with this little paragraph here, that she never played it, which is important and one of the main reasons why Barret sounds like he does. So, when it came out, the PlayStation was my older brother's console, and I wasn't allowed to touch it, as he rightfully feared I'd break it or mess up with his saves. Eventually, I was old enough to be trusted not to destroy a console, but by then the game was much harder to find. What are you talking about? You could literally find Final Fantasy VII everywhere. The game sold so much. It was such a popular game that everyone had a copy of it. Like, there was plentiful copies of it everywhere. You could find it. There was no problem finding Final Fantasy VII. This is a big red flag. That, are you even a gamer? Do you even know these things? If you're old enough to remember Final Fantasy VII in any capacity, you should have know that the game sold and it was everywhere. I don't think that the people of Kotaku or Polygon actually play video games. That's the thing. I think this whole article was written because Barret had the stereotype voice, the jive talking Barret. and, well, that's an article I can write, you know? That's how they work. These people don't actually play games. So this game has never been hard to find. You can literally find it under your couch, you know? There's copies of this game probably in your couch fold. It's everywhere. So by the time I was in high school, I had already heard many stories from my friends about how this game had such a strong emotional impact on them. I didn't learn that Barret was an egregious stereotype of blackness until long after I had internalized the idea that my video game fandom was incomplete if I hadn't played Final Fantasy VII. I don't know if it's incomplete. It's an old game. But anyway, so because Barret talks with an accent, it's a terrible, terrible game. So this is how this stuff works. Now, this is the first of many articles. When the game actually drops, you'll see a couple saying it's racist because of Barret's voice. Mark my words, it always happens. All right, so let's get through this, and then I got some more points. Barret is a stereotype of a gruff man in an English translation of the original game. In Kotaku video producer Tim Rogers' analysis of the translation, he points out how the English translation, which he says was done by a single person in 2 weeks, inserted that characterization after the fact. Barret's characterization in this version involves an exaggerated black dialect, and his retranslated dialogue now also emphasizes Americanized ideals about masculinity. About masculinity. So yes, everything's toxic. Everything is toxic. So real quick, this is true. The first translation for Final Fantasy VII is not that great. It's got a lot of problems. It's actually been fixed. So if you're playing the Final Fantasy VII on Switch, Xbox, or PS4 right now, that translation is pretty good. The first one did have some problems. Square was still trying to figure that out. You know, they weren't that good. I can't remember the exact details, but that is true that the translation is different. Now, from what I understand, you know, I can't say anything about the Japanese because I don't read Japanese, you know, so, but the version of this game in the Japanese trailer didn't have the accent, but how is it going to have that? That's a distinctly American thing about, you know, if you grew up in a town or something, you're going to have that accent. It happens not just based on, you know, your group. Look at Eminem. It just depends on where you come from. It's an accent. But, of course, it's bad to these people because they don't get these things, you know. They live in their little coffee shops at Starbucks. They sit there and get mad about things. We can go on and on about NPCs and how crazy they are. But the point is, the translation problems is a true thing. But if you're making this game based for a Western audience, it makes more sense to focus the dialects of the person under what you're going to expect. Barret's a rough and tough looking dude. Looks like he grew up in some hardship. He might have that accent, but either way, let's be real. If he came off as he was a white stereotype, then that would also be racist. Either way, this article would have been written. But let's also talk about that masculinity problems. Let's talk about how Barret was a leader of a little group, the Avalanche Rebellion. Let's talk about how Barret took in the daughter of his two friends and raised her. This all gets left out. These are problems coming from a big, long article from someone who never played the game. I would argue that Barret's actually a good example for people, considering he raised a little girl that wasn't even his. They were his friends. Spoilers, sorry. And he's a leader. He runs the rebellion group. But of course, none of that mattered because he says, yo, yo. So all of a sudden, that's terrible. Garbage character right there. Garbage character. So in what Tim describes as the most important text box in Japanese role-playing English translation history, the game mistranslates Barret's expression of empathy to a depressed Cloud. Instead of telling Cloud that everyone gets depressed, like he does in the Japanese text, Barret says that people only get depressed if they know what's going on. The fact that can you use the synonym? Line is preceded with the line, yo, Jess, think about it. How many people in the world do you think really understand themselves? Further reinforces Barret as some kind of hyper-masculine cartoon. Not a fully realized person, but a Mr. T type full of weak bon mots. The deception plays into a racist assumption people make about black men, not seeing them as full people, but as hulking masses of muscle that sometimes provide folksy wisdom. Once again, because like I said earlier, because he says, yo, Jess, or that, Cloud needs to toughen up, which he doesn't really say. It's really kind of the same thing, where he says everyone gets depressed once in a while. He says people don't get depressed when they don't know what's going on. So the world is a crappy place. If you find out that, Shinra is literally sucking the life out of the earth if you play that game, yeah, it's kind of depressing. I don't know. It's been a long time since I played this game, but you know what this is? This is cherry picking. I find it funny that this person is saying that this character makes black men terrible, and I have to disagree. Just like I said before, he's a great father, and he's a morally righteous person that does the right thing, considering, his best friends got taken out. He's raising their kid. He doesn't have to do that. Talk about really taking responsibility, right? That's a very good characteristic for anybody. But all of that's getting ignored because in the demo of the game, he says, yo, Jess, think about it. All of a sudden, all of that goes out the window. He's a terrible person, right? That's such a toxic masculine thing to take and raise a kid that's not even your own, and take her in and take it like it's your own daughter. That's terrible character traits. That's what I don't get about these people. They're so stupid. They're the dumbest takes. They have the dumbest opinions. They don't even literally play any of the games that they're talking about. The fact that she doesn't even know or mention Barret as a good father one time in this entire article is garbage. And she's sitting here talking about what makes, certain groups of people look good or bad. Now here's the best part. In the trailer, they talk about how some fans had hoped that they would have changed his voice. And here you go. Here's some fans, just this one dude, just this one guy who says that he sounds like the guy from Tropic Thunder. And I did think that this tweet was kind of funny because he does kind of sound like Robert Downey Jr. in it. Oh, here's one other person, Choo Choo McGoo, who thought it was bad. Actually, this clip was actually kind of funny too, what they did. I can't play it, but I did think it was humorous. All right, so let's finish this up. I'm just going to skip to the last paragraph, because this whole section here is apparently about all of these people that want to change the game. And they never get cited or anything, of course. It's just these two people. We see this with comicbook.com a lot. They'll take 2 reactions, and apparently that's the entire fan base. That's how they roll. So in the reactions that I've seen, fans don't want to censor or remove Barret from the game. They were just hoping to see a better portrayal of his character this time around. And once again, I have to ask, what kind of better portrayal are you looking for? One that's not a leader of an organization? One that's not a fantastic father who works and takes care of his business? What other portrayal were you looking for in Barret? I'm confused. Were you looking for one that kicks kids to the side and smokes cigars and counts money? I just don't understand. You've never played the game. It's so obvious from watching and reading this entire article. You have never played the game. You know nothing about the character. I'm going to make the title of this video or something, Kotaku thinks good fathers are bad examples or something, because you're terrible. How are you a game journalist and you did zero research for this? You did absolutely no research for this game whatsoever. You watched a single clip of a trailer where he's talking like that and assumed he's a terrible person. Shame on you. You are no journalist. All you do is get people riled up with this garbage, and thankfully, people are seeing past it. And it's only a matter of time until Kotaku is gone. And I can't wait, because Polygon and Kotaku, you people are literally the cancer, the plague of video game community. You really are. You're trash. You're garbage. You're garbage outlets that nobody likes. So, sorry. I'm so irritated with these people. And you're talking about just, you know nothing about the game. You know nothing about the character to say that. So many are frustrated, annoyed, and are laughing at the character rather than with him or saying that they wish the creative team had made a different call. There are very few viral tweets about this topic, but the sentiment is there quietly, right? Quietly, because nobody is mad about it except you and two people. One fan tweeted the trailer with a comment, "I wish they would dead the Mr. T voice." Another said that the trailer looked great, but the voice made them uncomfortable. Everything makes you people uncomfortable. Everything. It's like Tim Pool said. You move out of a community, like, so if you're like a white dude, right? You move out of a community, that's white flight. You move into a community, that's gentrification. Which one am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to go live in a hill, in a box or something for you to be happy and not uncomfortable? Where is the middle ground here? The most aggressive criticism I saw came from Brandon Dixon, the creator of the upcoming tabletop RPG Swordfish. And I don't really care about the game. I'm sure he doesn't make. Do they ever talk to POC at all? I do. And a lot of them have that accent. Some of them don't. It's not really a big deal. But, you know, these people, as much as they talk about it, I don't think that they know anybody that's different than them. I think that they literally just hang out, flog each other, complain about things, get upset, and run a ruined society for, air quotations, the right side of history. Dixon's frustration is on the surface of his tweet, but the plea at its core is simple and understandable. POC want to see themselves in games, not as a stereotype, but other people think they are, but as the actual people they are, as people. So, what is wrong with being a leader and a good father? That's what I want to know. And I'm going to ask you this point over and over again because you obviously never played the game. This entire article is invalid to me because you never played the game. Your entire opinion to me is invalid because you never played the game. You have all kinds of people that have played that game. You didn't have one person on staff that could have went up and said, yo, he's actually a good dude. No. You watched a trailer and you wrote this big, long, stupid, worthless, garbage article that is trash, but still going to show up in Final Fantasy VII Remake algorithms on Google. It's the only reason that you wrote it. And because of the fact that nobody that reads it is going to have played the game, they're going to think this guy is a problematic character. So bravo for making things worse for video gaming, things worse for the video game community, for the people who made this game, because you want to write this trash garbage article. You don't play games. You're not a gamer. Stop it. Go do some coding.
Trump is now president of the United States. President Obama is the ex-president. And Mr. Trump, for the moment, steps away for the inaugural address.